Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahe Tejasvinavadhitamastu Mavid Vishavahe Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. Svetasvatara Upanishad. We are on the fourth mantra. I'll read the mantra, which is in your printed books on page 59.
Do we have any other copies?
We don't have one, but we can arrange some for the time being. Tam ekanemim trivritam shodashantam Shatardharam Vingshati Pratyarabhi Ashtakai Shadbhir Vishwarupai Ekapasham Trimarga Bhedam Dvinimit Ekmoham. We have seen the various factors that go into make this universe. We are now on page 64 of the Svetasvatara Upanishad, and the last para, please. We've seen the 50, you can say, factors, what they are, and we've gone through this whole factors. I mean, why is this necessary to delineate all these factors? Because the mantra says they saw him with all these things, and today we will enumerate a few other things that they also saw. The reason for enumeration is you've got to know what your bondages are, because the Upanishads teach liberation, and each one has its own, you can say, orientation, his own peculiarities, his own character, his own personality, and somewhere deep down we need to find out where exactly we are, and from there commence your journey towards liberation. And that's what the Upanishads are trying to teach us. Now, these bondages also are part of what? Yes, a part of the universe, and which is our body also is a part of this universe. That's the reason why some of the enumerations are sometimes overlapping. No. What we will go through today is something that we've already seen previously.
Maharaj, these 50, if I remember, Bipajay, they are also, they are teachers. So,
oh, that's a wonderful way of looking at this. Yes, they are teachers. They are going to teach you how to transcend them, because a teacher will always like a student to be better than him or her. No teacher would like a student to be a kind of a slave all through. You know, I don't know. That's the way we look at it spiritually. The guru also will like to have a disciple who's really good, who's really great, and who's really excelled in certain fields. So we'll go through this. Yes, these are factors, but they saw the Lord as having all these various factors, because that's what the rishis did. So the last para, please. They saw him as Shadbhi Ashtakai. That's which is in the mentioned in the mantra, having 6 sets of 8. Now there are 6 sets. Each set is divided into 8 parts. It's an octad. Okay, 6. Now it's not that we have this is completely foreign to us or something like that. It's there, but we need to now see one after another. Okay. Now, what are the bondages? As we can see, the first is, I'll read the. They saw him as Shadbi Ashtakai, having 6 sets of 8. The word having has to be supplied. Obviously, the octad of nature is as described. The first octad is of nature. Prakriti Ashtakai, of nature. And a sloka in the Bhagavad Gita is taken straight. Bhumi rapo nalo vayu kham mano buddhi vacha ahankara iti yamja bhinna prakriti ashtada. The eightfold prakriti. This is my prakriti, the Lord says. The 5 great elements: bhumi, aap, nala, vayu, kham. Space, air, fire, and earth, and water. These are the 5. Plus mana, buddhi, ahankara. All these things are also included in nature.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Where does prana come in this? Prana.
Yes. The prana is the vayu. Yeah.
Oh,
It's
prana
the
is
air.
vayu.
Yes. Exactly. So there is one external, you can say, as we had described last time, when space is empty. Really, it's not empty. Space is possibilities. It's not never empty. So at the beginning of creation, when space begins to, as I say, vibrate or curl or whatever you like, vibrate a bit, the vibrations commence, and the first thing that happens is the vibration become denser, quicker, more intenser. And first is vayu.
That's the first
Yes.
manifestation.
After
After
space
the
is
first
come
manifestation
vayu.
is vayu. And that's prana.
And then it keeps on vibrating even more intenser. Then what? When vibrations become intenser, it generates heat. So there's agni, fire. And then fire also condenses and cools, and you have water. And then it condenses even more and becomes the earth. So from space has arisen all these things.
So space
Okay.
is the first manifestation of prakriti.
Yes. In
Space
fact,
is the first.
of Prakriti, correct.
That's
Yeah.
prakriti, right?
That's true. That's true. So the Lord says that these 5 things, 5 great elements, and then that there's a permutation and a combination. Vedanta, we have this uh, Panchikaranam and all this. Some of you have gone through this, but it doesn't matter. And then mind, intellect, and ego. That's the 8 Prakriti. The Lord says Ashtaka.
What is this Panchikaran? Because I have heard Panchikaran
She's not
mantra.
here.
Yeah, we'll go through it later on, because now we'll concentrate on the Upanishad. Okay,
Okay.
it's a division and subdivision of the 5 elements in brief. That would in various you can say uh, combinations, various measurements.
Tanmatra.
So that's the first octad. There's the one set, 6 sets, and each set has 8 subdivisions. So you have first Prakriti, nature, and you have these subdivisions. The next is bodily substance, dhatu ashtaka, dhatu. Now we have this, we have a body, it's a kind of a specialized material that has, evolved over with these 5 elements over eons, millennia, millions and billion years, over and over again. And this material or the Pancha Mahabhut has evolved into these things which are now in the body in a kind of a very superfine, you can say, way. Because the bodies of mammals, especially all bodies, but bodies of mammals are much more, superior. And the human body is even much more superior. Now, why is it called superior? Because in this body, there is something called the self-consciousness unfurled in the humans. You might get a glimmer of it in chimpanzees, dolphins, but here in the human, you have this unfurled. Now that means not all human beings have the same degree of self-consciousness. Consciousness in the sense of consciousness is always self-consciousness. Okay. Now this is a tremendous, you can say, gift which needs to be cultivated even further. And these are the factors that we are seeing in the Upanishads that help in unfurling this consciousness. Okay. Now, the octad is internal and external, the dermis and the epidermis. Okay. And that's the skin part. And then you have the flesh. And then you have the blood and fat and bone and marrow and you can say the sexual, you can say fluids or liquids or whatever, because the body has to replicate itself. It cannot. I say, what's that? Bodies are meant to be replicated. Children, grandchildren, we pass on down the genes, and we have the history of the whole, you can say, history of our genetic journey. So there we are.
So how do some saints and sages maintain their body for like indefinitely?
That's not part of this, but we will come down to it. This is, we are talking about just what the body is made of. There are some people, we'll come down to certain other factors that you can see that may throw away all these ideas of, you can say, just plain body. Then we have the next octad, the Aishwarya Ashtaka. Aishwarya, that's the, you can say, yoga philosophy in its delineation of its superfine powers. They have 8 powers. Ashta Siddhis also, we have seen it in Ashta Siddhis. These are also Aishwaryas, you can say, glory. What are these? As we know, we have Anima, Lagima, Mahima, Prapti, Prakamya, Ishitva, Vashitva, Yatra Kama, Vashayitva. Now, we have gone through this, but then
9 minor
So
sages.
why are they bringing this up?
yes, again, yeah, because we've discussed that certain things they overlap. Okay, so yeah.
But I mean, what's the point? Because I'm sorry, I came in. There was accent. I came in late. What's the point of like?
Yes, which are in the
this?
50 factors are even here.
50 factors of delusional.
Yeah, 50 factors of delusion. But here also, they are enumerated once again.
Okay.
They are the
Sorry.
Anima.
But is it a benchmark for like evolution?
No.
Not at all.
No, it's not a benchmark for evolution. These are powers that have been acquired through the practice of yoga. Higher states of yoga, not the yoga. That is the samadhis. There are various levels of samadhis. And as you keep on practicing these samadhis, towards the end of those practices, these powers, sometimes they arise spontaneously within you. And these are delineated again in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. Anima. Yes, make yourself anu and like atom like. Lagima, make yourself light. You can walk on water, and if you don't have to bother about the traffic jams, you can.
You can just.
Mahima, you can make yourself huge. And like the various things, Prapti is, we can, if you want to touch the moon, you can just from here.
It's like bending space time.
No, space time does not exist for that yogi there. So, because to become atomic, you've already bent all the rules of Prakriti. So, Prapti and Prakhamya, you can say whatever you want. You want a chocolate ice cream, it comes to you. You want a particular god to come to you, you want to have a kind of a discussion. What exactly? Hey, it comes to you. Yes, sir. What can I do for you?
I want a chocolate.
Oh, yeah, whatever. But these are not gross desires. I mean, anything that arises, and if the yogi wills, I like this. Then we have the Ishitva, Vashitva, Yata Kama Vashayitva, all these things like, concerns desires. But he can have everything, but as it's been discussed by the scriptures, he becomes as powerful as the ruler of this, you can say, creation. Yeah. Oh my God. But he or she does not have the power of creation. That belongs to God. These are the extremely superfine powers in nature which the yogi experiences and acquires through the yogic practices. Are they really in a kind of do they exist, or just kind of metaphors? No. Shri Ramakrishna, as we've seen, he's saying, you see, he calls Swami Vivekananda. I've got these 8 powers, Ashtasiddhi. I would like to transfer them to you. Would you take it? He looks. Will they help me realize God? No, but then they will help you in your future mission, future work. I don't need it. Let me first realize God, and then let me decide. So, Sri Ramakrishna, in a way, was pleased also. Oh God. Imagine you're given unlimited power, and somebody says, no. Why? Because there is even something higher than these. Because all these Ashtasiddhis are also cause of huge bondages. When you have a power, you want to exhibit it, obviously. And let's test it. Oh, really? I have this? Oh God. But so these are the superfine powers found in Prakriti, which the yogi acquires by bending all rules. Then we have the next octad. The 8 states of the mind are virtue, knowledge, detachment, majesty, vice, ignorance, attachment, and poverty. I won't go to the Sanskrit words because not very important. So dharma, jnana, vairagya, all these things. So these are the states of the mind. But why do we have positives as well as the negatives also? We have virtue and we have ignorance, and again we have detachment and we have attachment, and we have majesty also, and then we have poverty also. Yes, because it's not that the mind is only a kind of you can say receptacle of only all virtues. Because somewhere down we also have ignorance, we also have a weakness, we also have a demons within us that need to be grappled. And if you can conquer your mind, then you have, I mean, but the mind also has these states, which are also part of nature, part of Prakriti, which are also one form of bondage. Sri Ramakrishna and even Swami Vivekananda says that a chain of gold, a chain of iron, are both chains. So you need to unshackle both. So that's the reason why there are times when your mind feels so virtuous, and then somebody comes and pricks you, and then you're flat down. What happened? And you shout and scream. Oh, all these things are ignorance and attachment, vice. So a human mind bent on liberation should know that these things also are there. These, as Jung has said, Carl Jung has said, these are the shadows of the mind which need to be confronted, countered. If you don't do it, your mind is going to keep on deluding you. And yes,
From a Vedantic perspective, how would one confront and encounter the shadow mind? Because the approach through C.G. Jung's route would be a little bit different, whereas in Vedanta we tend to just focus on the knowledge that removes the ignorance. So it seems almost like kind of like bypassing or skipping the shadow.
no, the shadow can be seen as our body is made of two sets of impressions. And that's the reason why we've got a human body. And they are virtue and vice. Here you are. Papa and Punya. When they are equally balanced, we get a human body. So that Papa Sanskaras, Papa in the sense, I'm not talking about Papa of evil or sin or something like that. Take it as a kind of a negative impressions. Now these negative impressions are lying down in our mind. They need to be confronted. They need to be countered, and they need to be eradicated. So you can take that as a shadow self. Yes, a part of you is not that angelic, you can say, looking person. There's behind that angel is that devil. So that needs to be held, and that needs to be,
Didn't
strengthened.
Ramakrishna have Papa Purusha coming
Yes,
out of
yes,
his body?
yes.
Is that the negative?
And
negativity?
Sri Ramakrishna is seen that Papa Purusha, kind of that with red eyes, jet black, you can say, body, and coming out like reeling out, and then another calm looking, you can say, golden hued person also come out with a trident and Sri Ramakrishna. And Sri Ramakrishna says that calm looking, bright person, killing the Papa Purusha. So we have in Sri Ramakrishna's experiences are diverse. So we have that part of us that in our own minds that is a little not so, you can say, nice. And we need to recognize that first. People think of us as, oh, this is. And I look at myself also, I look at that. Yeah, I've been trained to say, oh, you can do everything, you can get everything, you can do everything. But there are certain, you can say, anchors in my, you can say, character that are drawing me down. I need to, pull out those anchors and face myself. When you have been able to, eradicate this, the shadow, the dark side, or you can say unholy sanskaras.
What?
Unholy. Then you are free from all these things. So you have a mind, and you have to have these kind of things also, because this is the world. The body is like I said, it's a mixture of this thing. The world also is a mixture of good and evil.
When you see them as just the same kind of, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
As a Brahma.
Mhm.
It's kind of the same.
Yeah, when you transcend them, then they'll appear as
Then you really.
yes, yes, yeah.
But is transcending them, isn't that to engage with vrittis and kleshas and all of that instead of to just
Yeah, not bypass them. You mean?
Yeah, transcending them is what happens is as you keep on practicing yoga, which will be spoken of later on, the fire of yoga burns the cage of sin. So here you are. So your practice, your daily meditation, your daily japa, your daily prayers, it may seem futile at times after years and years. So nothing's happening. But you are actually burning some of those, you can say, sanskaras, those shadows. And that's the reason why we feel that nothing's happening, nothing's happening, nothing. No, there's plenty of things happening inside. Right now, we don't know what exactly. But every day you feel more pure, more holy, more devoted to God. And as you keep on going, the burden of all that shadow is attenuated. This is what. So in the mind, there are very few people, like, Swamiji says, you remember something in one of his letters. He's talking about maybe you're jealous. I think Nivedita writes, saying, you know something, I was born without jealousy. Now, there are other souls that come with a
Who
kind of a
said that?
mission.
Who said-
Vivekananda.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was not born like us. When an avatar descends, he or she is not born like one of us. We are born out of those impressions, those sanskaras. They are born out of divine will. Okay, so these people are free from. In fact, one place, Girish Ghosh was a dramatist and he was an artist and everything. He was you can say multifaceted, a genius. And he used to drink a lot, and one day he was drunk and he kept on verbally abusing Ramakrishna. And Ramakrishna was in a different mood. He retaliated with equally venomous, you can say. And Girish goes, "Oh, you are my guru even in this." Like, no, there's a difference. You have sanskaras, I don't have sanskaras. So this is the difference between them and us. But all people who are born from samskaras, they have these things. Okay?
Can I say something?
Yes.
Those people like Vivekananda and all that,
Mm.
they come to this world as a universal necessity.
Mm.
They are
Yes.
sent,
Yes.
and they are not like us.
Yes.
That is-
Yes. Of course. And he's saying there was a need, and then, in fact, Ramakrishna, I believe, I don't know where exactly, he's saying the world will never see someone like Vivekananda. There you go. Yeah. We see him as a kind of heroic and you can say orator by divine right and this and that. But then there's a huge, you can say, difference between this, what we see, and that, what we don't see. It's tremendous. That power, the Shiva power that has descended. So here we go to the next octad. The 8 supernormal beings are, we on page 65, please. First line. The 8 supernormal beings are Brahma, Prajapati, gods, Gandharva, Yakshas, demons, manis, and coals. Here. But why? Why? We think that the universe comprises only us and what we see. Maybe our dogs and cats and our trees and our plants. And hey, this is my world. There are unseen worlds, and Brahma and Prajapati and all the various gods and all. The unseen, you can say, beings. The seen and the unseen are actually one. Just because we don't see them, it doesn't mean they do not exist.
So they're like fairies.
Fairies are nice and sweet. There are some sweet ones, but there are some malevolent ones, and we'll go down to one of the. Brahma, as we know, is a creator god. Prajapati is these progenitors. We have these great progenitors, Vasishta, Vishwamitra, and we have Pulaha, Pulastaha, Kratu, all these, the first progenitors of beings. Okay. Gods, various gods. We have a number of gods. Are their destinies, are our destinies always linked along with them? Yes. All the gods, all the gods. Gandharvas. Gandharvas are musicians. The gods, or like celestial minstrels. These gods who are good at singing. Then we have yakshas. Yakshas are, they are actually the associates of the god of wealth, Kubera. Yakshas. Oh. Here we have yakshas. And we have rakshasas, the malevolent spirits. Here they are. And then we have malevolent. Yeah. And we have the pitris or the manis or the departed ancestors. It's called a pitriloka. And we have the smaller variety of spirits, the ghouls. Oh, ghouls. Ghouls. Yeah. So these are, again, in the mind we have the positive and negative. Here we also have this, the gods, especially the rakshasas and pishachas. Now, this universe is a vast, you can say, network of the spiritual and not so spiritual beings also. What function do they have? They help us. If you propitiate them, they help us. And in some of our, you can say, even the puja, when we sit down for puja, we have something called the Bhuta Prasarana, you can say, mantras. That is, you've got to drive away the evil spirits first in the locale where you sit down and you worship. Various things are there. All these things, like the good and the bad spirits, they are all, you can say, involved in this creation, in our lives. Why do we suffer? Why does somebody innocent suffer? Oh yeah. I'll give you an instance. It happened, and I don't know how far you will believe it or no. There was a Swami Vijnananda. No, there was Gadadarananda. I think that's what his name. So he goes to a person's house, and what happened to your son? So he is not well, and doctors have given up all hope. He's just vomiting blood, and it's all over for him. And the whole house is sad, and he was the eldest. And suddenly the Swami goes and sits on that dying boy's chest and starts, get out from here, get out. And something happens and the Swami gets off his chest, he'll be okay. And the boy became okay. And later on he became a monk. And so here we have, I'm not trying to promote all these things, but there are certain factors that that do affect our lives.
I was reminded as well of epigenetics, which is the science that discusses that we carry in our DNA 7 generations of psychological and emotional imprints. So, that can be tendencies from scars from our grandparents, our parents, and great-grandparents, and things like that. So I noticed just even within my family that my spiritual inclinations are very much my own, but I'm very different than my parents or something like that. So I think that has a factor as well, certain thoughts or impressions that are maybe just in our aura or something from our ancestors.
Yes. That's a good factor, epigenesis. So these things are there. Like you may not know, but your grandmother's nose is sitting on your face. So there you are. And that's the reason why when we have to give the pinda in in the funeral, during the funeral rituals, you've got to give the pinda to all the 7 preceding, you can say, generations.
What's a pinda?
It's a kind of a small, you can say, a rice ball, or it's a kind of not a rice ball, it's mustard, and you can say with sugar, all these things, oil.
An offering.
It's
It's an offering.
Yes.
Does it have to be that, or
It has to be that
with some
black,
mantras, right? It
black
makes.
sesame seeds, and then we give it to them.
I want to give that example of how Bhishma Pitama, he's giving Pindadan,
Oh,
suddenly his hand comes out.
yeah. But this is so they come. They have to be also acknowledged, and they have to be fed or something like that.
And also, Swamiji, there is the saying that when somebody gets liberation, he liberates 7 generations. Before
Yes.
And
I was coming down to that.
Does that
So-
tie in with the epigenetics?
Yeah.
They're 2 separate studies, and they're just
No,
Yeah.
epigenesis
doesn't
is a
seem like
separate
a
study. Yeah.
doesn't seem like a coincidence.
No. It's a separate study. Yeah. And why not? One knowledge will always be linked to another. If it is true knowledge, it will always be linked. So when you liberate, when you get liberation, you liberate all your ancestors, 7 generations, and those also yet to come. Wow.
And they say at the same time that the progeny is not, they have to have their own liberation. That when a person is, isn't that so? Or,
Yes,
so
it
how
is.
does that counteract?
There is something called Krama Mukti. They go to a high location, and
Who's
from
they?
your
the ancestors,
Ancestors go to.
and then they keep on traversing to higher and higher realms.
So they don't have to come back.
No.
So that's the liberation we're talking
Yes.
about.
Brothers and sisters?
Doesn't liberation technically mean that you
Well,
recognize
it's
those
actually
members?
father and mother more,
More
grandfather
like
and mother.
Doesn't liberation mean that you would just recognize there's no one to be liberated, no other, so to speak?
Yeah, it's
So
not
all
that.
structure just kind of
It doesn't matter because you had a body, and that body was a vehicle. You were liberated in this body, and then I'm one with God. But the body is a receptacle of all those genetic and epigenetics and all these things. So it has become so holy and everything. So that holiness and purity and everything has affected.
It's the relative and the absolute. So there's the relative plane of existence, which is incarnation and samskara, and from within Maya, and then there's the absolute, but it's not really either or. It's kind of both and.
But
So
if relatively speaking, their bodies have already passed. So it's like their genetic
It doesn't matter.
programming is coded in your DNA. So to
Yeah,
speak.
yeah.
It's almost
Yeah.
like their consciousness is downloaded into your body.
Yes,
Deliberate.
we have them in their subtle bodies. So here you are, because these departed souls are in a kind of a realm called the Pitriloka. So they get liberation there. They keep on moving ahead. Okay. So so then the last of the octads is the 8 qualities of the mind are to be known. The Gunashtaka. Kindness, forbearance, and absence of jealousy, purity, ease, goodness, generosity, and contentment. This is what is the mind, that is, you can say, full of sattva guna, that is the light and purity and knowledge. So we have this kindness, and Mother says a person without kindness is not even considered a human being. Oh yes, that's right. Forbearance, of course, and you've got to forbear when you live in this world. Mother also says, sha, means keep on forbearing. Sahanam sarvadukkanam. Absence of jealousy, that's very important. That the person, like Swamiji say, I was born without jealousy. Purity, yes. Ease, anayas. You do things and you are at ease with yourself. So there, you don't need to put so much of, you can say, energy or effort in just trying to be yourself. Let your mind calm. It's like the ease, anayasa. Ayasa is effort, anayasa, yes. Goodness and generosity and contentment. Yes, yeah. So we have done off with this. Shadbhi Ashtakai. Oh, so many things. We are coming towards the end of the enumerations. We have in the next mantra also a few of them, but then let's put it like that. After you have located yourself where exactly you are, physically, emotionally, or psychologically, and even spiritually, then you start your journey. Here you slowly keep on. Because our bondages are mainly psychological, these things. Physical bondages, yes, the body is subject to cold and heat, and you can say pain, pleasure, and hunger and thirst. But these can be countered to a great extent. But the psychological, you can say, factors, because you don't know exactly where they exist. Oh, they exist in the mind, but where in the mind? In that right hand corner, left hand corner, oh, there. I just unhook them and throw them out, but they won't go out. We continue with it. They saw him as Vishwarupa Ekapasham, having one bondage called desire, which is of numerous forms. Ekapasha, one bondage. And say, yeah, Vishwarupa. And universal, you can say, innumerable. I think we have started off with that hymn of creation, where it's in the Rig Veda. It's one of the oldest, you can say, hymns. It's called, it's a sukta, and it's called Nasadiya Sukta. This Nasadiya, part of that is we have something called then desire rose, the primal seed in the mind. There we have.
Rose from what?
Rose from those waters, the waters of creation. I mean, that's a whole, you can say, hymn. And Eko Ham Bhavushyama, the Lord said, I am one, let me be many. There you are. Vishwarupa. Vishwa is universe, universal, forms, innumerable forms. So that one desire came, let's have that chocolate ice cream. No. Let's have something else. And then keep on. The moment you hold on to one particular thing, it leads you to another. And that's why it's called a pasha. It's called a, you can say, bondage. Desire is one bondage. Okay? So good desires and bad desires or whatever, but they bind. That's the reason why this is called one bondage. One, you can say, noose round your neck. Pasha is a kind of a noose. And so it is desire. And this desire keeps on multiplying. Like you pour ghee into the home of fire. So you say, no, if I have this desire and if I satiate it, it will go away. Oh, you think it will go away? Yeah. Try it out. So, but Sri Ramakrishna says, in the modern context, these small desires satisfy them, the big desires renounce them. There you are. Now, whether I should eat chocolate ice cream or no, okay, you go ahead and you don't bother about all these things. The big desires, renounce them. Don't get your fingers into that. Trimarga Bhedam, 3 different paths. So whenever you have a kind of a desire, either you go through the path of righteousness or unrighteousness or knowledge. Knowledge is one path, and so I want to know this. Let's have a grip on that through my knowledge. And there you are. You keep on proceeding towards. And this is what Sri Ramakrishna says as 2 things. One is there is a Vidya Maya and there is a Avidya Maya. Vidya Maya is that it binds you to the world. And Vidya Maya releases you from this world. And Vidya Maya binds you to the world. Now this Vidya Maya is, I'm sitting down, I'm praying, I'm meditating, I'm doing japa, I'm doing this. That also is a part of Maya. But this Maya is going to lead you to liberation, to knowledge. So that's a good, you can say. You need to hold on to. So this is where. And then if you have, let's know God. Okay, that's the highest, you can say, form of, you can say, Vidya Maya. So it's righteousness, unrighteousness, and knowledge. Trimarga Bhedam. Desire impels us either one of these 3 things. And Dvi Nimitta Ekamoham. Having a single delusion. And what's a delusion? We identify ourselves with the body. That is you can say the linchpin, or you can say the very, you can say, the anvil where we are hammering out, you can say.
So through that came all this delusion as well. We build everything around the body.
Oh yes, we identify ourselves with the body. Sri Ramakrishna gives the example of, when a coconut is, just off the tree, just raw or tender, let's say. If you shake it, you can hear the sound of the water. It's a solid mass. But that same coconut, if it is dried, is plucked from the tree and dried, and then when you shake it, you will get the sound of a kernel, that kernel which is dried, rattling inside. So here you have a shell, and which has separated itself from the kernel, or the kernel has separated itself from it. Okay. At one time in our lives, we will see, yes, I am completely separate from the body, and the mind, and the intellect, and the ego. I am. So this identification with the body, and then the body identifies with this family, epigenetics, and this, that, whole mass of, you can say, attachments come. Or revulsions also come. Oh, this is stinking. And this is good. Let's go there. Oh, this, okay, fine. I'll have it tomorrow. Kind of neutral. Here we have this identification with the body. It's like kind of a rope that is tied. This is our bondage. This is the bondage of the Jivatma, the individual soul, to the world through this identification. And can it disappear? Yes, it can. And liberation means that. Somewhere amongst the philosophies, you'll have illustration given, a kind of a mirror, and you bring a red rose in front of it. Now, if the mirror keeps on thinking, I am a red rose, that mirror is a fool. And this is exactly what's happening with us. Body is limited and the soul is unlimited. Yet these two things have come together. And Swami Vivekananda says, the Hindu says, I do not know why and how these two things have come together and dancing this dance of life, death, and all these things. I don't. And philosophies come, it's a will of God. Oh, that's nature. Oh, it's like that.
can
only.
explain it,
You have to bear with it. I do not know how these two things of opposite natures have come together. This is Maya. So you have the mirror thinking, oh, I'm a red rose. And then you bring a yellow rose. I'm yellow rose. After a while, hey, just a moment. This is just reflection. I am within myself. I am myself. So the moment the soul understands that these are reflections, nature is reflecting all its powers, all its factors, and all its, you can say, delusions and illusions on that. And the soul is right in awe.
But you can't really take it to be anything. Or then you have duality. You can't really take nature to be really something in itself, because then you would have duality. Then you have a conflict.
You are an Advaitin, I see.
Right? Isn't that true?
Yeah. I mean, there are dualistic philosophies, but then when we go or you seek liberation, what happens is we are actually taking the help of duality, basing it.
Yeah.
But as we proceed slowly, we understand this nature, this whole nature that has been described here as a kind of a you can say, power of the Lord, which cannot be called either existence or non-existence. Sannapi, asannapi, ubhayatmika. You cannot point out that this power, this nature exists. As you can say, the soul exists. At the same time, you cannot say it does not exist, seeing that it has produced this universe. You cannot say it's non-existent. Yeah.
That's what they say go beyond that.
Yeah. Yes.
But how to go beyond that?
There you are. In the Bhagavad Gita, we have the Lord saying, Daivi Hesha Gunamayi. This nature of this Maya of mine is made up of three gunas, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. And this nature of mine, this Maya of mine, is difficult to cross. Daivi Hesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya. It's extremely difficult. So what he says, Mamevaya Prapadhyanti. Those who come to me, those who surrender to me, Maya Metam, they will cross over Maya. So what? So Sri Ramakrishna says, the magic and the magician, there are two different things. Hold the magician. And then he'll tell you what exactly was magic, how did he bring out all these tricks. So in everything, you have this Lord and his power of Maya, which is called nature. So you go first straight to the Lord. It's difficult to cross, he's saying. But you come to me. And if you come to me, I'll help you overcome this. Sri Ramakrishna gives the various examples. Suppose there's a landlord and there are these gatekeepers and guards and they won't let you inside first. But somehow push them, or even by jumping over you can see the fence. You go and meet him, and then he'll tell you how much of wealth he has, or how much of land he has, an estate, and this and that. So somehow push your way through and reach God. Then he will say, "You want to see this? You want to see that? I don't want to see anything more. I've seen you now." That is great. So there's an easy way out. So you don't have to. What will happen to us?
That question doesn't come to me now anymore.
Ah.
I'm okay. Whatever comes is fine.
Yeah. It's all coming from the Lord.
Yeah.
So here we have this identification with the body and senses and mind, intellect, caste, which are not the self. It's the anatman. You have the Atman thinks of itself as anatman because it has identified itself. So once the identification, so then what do you identify yourself with? You identify yourself with God. I am the child of God. I am a part of God. I am a spark of the divine. I am that Atman. So when the three stage you are talking about duality, Hanuman was asked.
Oh, yeah.
He said, Deha buddhya tu dasoham. When I'm identified with my body, I am the servant of Brahma. When I identify myself with as an individual, so jiva bhava, so tad angshaka, I am a part of that. Atma buddhi, when I identify myself with the Atman, tameva aham, I am you and you are me. So these are the three stages of spiritual growth also. Deha buddhya tu dasoham, jiva buddhya tadangchaka, atma buddhya tameva, iti me nishchitam.
And you can go back and forth.
Oh!
You can go.
Yes,
Yeah.
Sri Ramakrishna says that, a prince has access to all the rooms in the palace. So he doesn't have to bother. He can go up and down. There are special souls who can go up and down very easily. There are some souls who say, finally. And why should I bother about all these things? There's a lot to take care of that. I'll proceed. I'll merge inside. There are some souls who simply with a great deal of effort, as they keep on, they attain liberation and they're exhausted and I don't want to see any sights anymore. I had enough of it. They merge inside. There are some like the Bodhisattva ideal. They go and when they're about to merge, they hear the cries of all those who are suffering and they put their liberation on hold. They turn back and they come and their work is to help also. This is the Bodhisattva. And it's a great, you can say, these avatars are like something like this. Why does it have to be compassion? Can't he see or she see that these are all part of Maya? Saying, yes, this is that contradiction. There is that knowledge, tremendous knowledge of liberation. The very fact of liberation gives you universal knowledge. And yet it is mixed up with compassion. Yes, but then one Swami, in fact, my Guru tells me, yes, that's a contradiction, but it's a divine contradiction. Let it remain.
Your Guru is? Is your Guru?
No, Swami Bhuteshan.
Mutation. I saw that.
Oh, yeah.
He came visiting
He did. He
Many
did.
years.
Yeah,
many years.
many years
And,
ago.
and Daya Prana. Good. It's
Mm,
Mutation.
yes. So here we are. So that identification, as you know, is the cause of virtue and vice, and the whole, you can say. At the moment you identified with the body is identified with your family, with the caste, the world, and everything becomes. It's a kind of hook that you put yourself into. So they saw the verb apashan. They saw is to be understood, or the word adimaha in the next verse is to be supplied. They understood, they saw. Now, who saw? These sages who were deliberating. Is it time? Is it, you can say, destiny? Is it fate? Or is it, you can say, good works? Is it nature? All the various things they were deliberating. What is the cause of this universe? And it is seen that the cause of this universe is the Lord Himself. And these are His powers, various factors that have been enumerated. So, why doesn't He have to do it like that? The good and the bad mixed together. That's spicing things up. Suppose you would have everything good, then you would have to call it heaven. If everything was bad, you would have called it hell. And so this world is here. And even in heaven and even in hell, we say, oh God, these are of course temporary states in Hinduism. You go there for a while, take a rest, and you come down again. But what will you do there? Tell me. No, I will eat chocolate ice cream. You'll get bored in a couple of days. There you
Even in heaven.
are. Now, suppose you say, yeah, I will worship the Lord. Yes, there you are.
Bless you.
God bless you. There you are. And you keep on progressively going from one level to the next level and keep on going higher and higher. That's the idea. So you go through these various things, but then the world is made of both good and
Of what?
the world is made up of both good and bad.
So
Our
good
bodies and minds and
When they talk about have you heard like ascension? You know, some people talk about, oh, you're going to ascend. Do you know what they mean by that?
ascension. Yeah,
Is that when
in
you go up to
Christianity, your
what
body. There's a bodily ascension, and the Virgin Mary was there's a mother of I think Jesus. She was bodily, you can say, taken to heaven. The ascension.
It's like when you maintain a body.
Yeah. So.
You just the oldest Pandava brother. I think he also went.
Yeah,
to heaven.
they went up. Even in Hinduism, we have many.
It's like going to Brahmaloka or something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, you go to higher and higher level. There you go. You don't die a kind of a natural death. We don't
ascend
know.
within ourselves. We lift within. We go down into the darker mind, up into the light, the higher mind.
Yes, that's the
Bondage is
idea
also
of,
the
you can
light.
say. No, these are actual regions.
Actual reason.
Like you have Sri Krishna. He's saying, my mind was soaring, and then it's seen ideal forms of gods and goddesses on both sides, and then my mind crossed over a kind of a luminous barrier where even the gods and goddesses dare not enter or approach. And then I seen 7 sages sitting down, immersed in meditation. They had surpassed even the gods in their purity and holiness.
Vivekananda was one.
Yes. So you have these things.
Many the 7 in Saptarishi.
Yes. So,
Is there anything beyond?
but it's all in the universe, and
It's still
as in it's
within.
all in the flux and all.
Yeah.
we stay in a very narrow thing in the body with all this space and all this, like this row of books. I spend my life reading all the books down here, and yet one day I realized, gee, I really could just reach up there and take one of the higher books.